Hey guys, Clawland here, and welcome to another edition of Left Hand Reviews. Now in my last video we took a look at Rallyman, and if you haven't checked that video out, just click here and then after you're done, stop back here, so I'll wait. Okay, so those of you that did watch it, you know that today we're going to take a look at Rallyman Dirt, the expansion. Now, the original Rallyman is a well put together game, but it did leave me wanting a little bit more, and I hinted at that Dirt may fill in those gaps. So let's take a look at what comes in the box, and we'll show you the added components, then we'll talk about some of the added rules, and then I will tell you what I think about the expansion. So Rallyman Dirt comes in the same size box as the other 4th edition Rallyman, with very similar style artwork, but just a little bit different cover on it. You can see it here. Now, I'm actually not going to open this box up because I keep everything in the original Rallyman box. Which is nice that the box is low profile and yet it still fits everything from both games. So let's take a look at it, how everything fits into the box, and then I'll show you which of the components in here are actually from the expansion. So the first thing here is you're going to have the rule book. Again, in the Rallyman format you have plenty of different languages, which is always great. And let's open it up here to the English section. English section is going to start here, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, so really not much to it, and you can see half of that space is taken up by great pictures and illustrations. Dirt also introduces 2 orange acceleration dice, and actually in the expansion here in the rules they've changed the name from acceleration dice to gas dice. Now the difference between these and the white dice is that these have 2 hazard symbols on them instead of the normal white dice which have 1, and I'll explain why you would use these when we go over the rules in a second. You're also going to get a second pad of these time cards here where you record the race and all the players and the times throughout your rally. And probably my favorite addition to the game are these guys here. Now if you remember before on the original Rallyman we had those semicircular shaped dashboards which you use to track the dice that you use. Now they've exchanged that with these. Now these are double-sided and they rotate, which is really nifty. So basically the way that this works is you're going to select the tire that you're going to use. You can see the picture here shows that this is a snow tire. On the opposite side here, that is a regular road tire. On this second one, you can see this is a road tire that is soft, so less air pressure. And then on the other side, you have the dirt tire. And there's going to be a total of 8 of these, meaning each of the 4 players will have 2, since there's 4 different tire combinations. And now what you're going to do is you're going to rotate this to signify the type of road that you are going to be on, or the type of terrain. So we can see here this is a dirt tire on asphalt terrain because of that top picture. And that's going to tell us that we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 black dice and 2 white acceleration dice. So we take a penalty for using these dirt tires on asphalt. And it's also showing here with this 1, meaning you can do a single downshift. And that's something new that's introduced in this game as well, and is that you can double downshift. So you can go, say, from 5th gear to 3rd gear if you have the right tire and terrain combination. But in this case, that doesn't count, so you can still only do the standard 1 downshift. And it also shows you that 3 hazard symbols forces you to spin out. Now, let's say we're not on asphalt. Well, we can rotate this here, like so, and now we have the snow tire symbol at the top. And that's going to show us that we're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black dice and 2 orange dice. Now if you remember, I just mentioned those have the same use as the white acceleration dice or the white gas dice, except for they have 2 hazard symbols on them instead of 1. So you're more likely to lose control when you're using dirt tires on snow when accelerating. And again, you can rotate this again, and now you have the dirt track. the dirt terrain here, and you see you get 1, 2, 3, 4, all 5 black dice and 2 orange dice. And it says leader up here. And why does that matter? Well, because as the leader, you are actually going to, you're blazing the trail through the dirt. There's no existing trails. There's still a lot of loose dirt and dust that's being kicked up for you. So you don't have the benefit of following in the wake of other players. Therefore, when you're using acceleration dice or gas dice, you're going to use the more hazardous orange ones. And as you can expect, let's rotate it one more time. And if you have a dirt tire on dirt, but you are not the leader, you're going to have your standard 5 black dice and the 2 white dice, because you're following behind other players on dirt that have already kind of blazed that trail, and you can follow in their tracks and know the right way to go. And you can see here that this combination allows you to do a double downshift, and you have your standard 3 hazards to spin out. So this thing is a wealth of information. There's no need to use that dashboard anymore, so you can just throw that in the other box. And actually, you can see on the soft tire side, instead of down here having to do with the downshifting, this has to do with the number of hazard symbols you need to spin out. And it's always going to show you up here that you can always do 1 downshift with soft asphalt tires. So, but what's going to change here is the number of hazard symbols you need to spin out, depending on what type of terrain you're on. And again, this just rotates just like all the other ones. And again, these are super cool, super cool. And of course, the last thing that you're going to get in there is the new terrain. So let me take those out. So with the expansion, you're going to get 4 more double-sided track sheets for a total of 8 track sheets, a total of 16 different sides, each one with 10 entries and exits. So you have, I think, 11 billion combinations for track setup, which is awesome. Now, let's just take a quick look at the different sides here. You have a new asphalt track here. On the other side, here's a dirt track. And you can see here, look, there's a river. So there's going to be some jumping across rivers. And you can see here, coming up to a turn, there are 2 half-size zones, which means you can actually start a slide coming into a turn early, or treat this as a standard coming into it straight. And there's reasons why you may want to start your slide early, because people cannot pass you when you are starting your slide on a straightaway like this. Alright, here we have a snow-covered dirt track. Another side here, another dirt track. We have another new asphalt track, and you can see this one's really nifty because it adds in all sorts of intersections, some 90-degree angle turns that you can do, so all sorts of exciting things that you can do with this. And then finally another dirt-covered, or snow-covered dirt and dirt. And I didn't show you the back of this asphalt one is a dirt one that has some right angles and some crossovers and things, so that's pretty neat as well. So that's all the stuff that you're going to get in this new expansion, so let's go over some of the new rules. So one of the first rule changes has to do with shortcuts. Now when you travel through a shortcut, you're going to draw a shortcut card just like you did in the base version of the game, but there's slightly different things that happen. First, if you get a go card, what happens is you continue through the shortcut as per normal, but you're going to take a black marker and place it over the shortcut. And that means that this shortcut is now clean, and all players now can utilize that shortcut without having to take the risk of drawing a shortcut card. Now, if you draw a shortcut card and say you get this, which is the flat tire, you're going to get your normal flat tire, and which will kill off one of your acceleration dice, and there's no change to the base game for that, or to the expansion rather, with this. And then we also have our dirt throwing up shortcut card. So as per normal, when a player travels through that and they draw this card, they're going to throw a -1 counter, dirt counter on here onto the track to show that these go down 1. And now this is considered dirty. Now later, if people are passing through this shortcut and they pick up the go card, you now have a clean shortcut, and this black marker is still placed on that shortcut now, and no other players for the future are going to be drawing more shortcut cards. So it's going to lock this in. So that's kind of really neat in the fact that you can have dirty shortcuts or you can have clean shortcuts. So there's a little bit of a risk taking that shortcut first, in the sense that you could be making it a lot easier for players to use that shortcut in the future. Now let's take a look at rivers. Now there's a couple different ways that you can cross a river. If you move into the space with the river using an acceleration die / gas die, which is the white or the orange dice, or by using a gear card equal to the gear that you are in, then you're just going to move as per normal. If you use a gear die that is larger or smaller, meaning you're accelerating or braking as you're coming into the river, then what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at the die that you used, and if there's a hazard symbol on the die that moved you into the space of the river, you're immediately going to stop, and that immediately ends your turn. And you're going to take the associated time card equal to the gear that you were in when you moved into the river. Otherwise, if there is no hazard symbol on that die, then you're going to continue your turn as per normal. On the snow dirt areas where there are rivers, those rivers are considered frozen over, so there's not actually going to be any penalty. You just ignore the rivers. Also, some of the rivers may have a jump before them, say like this one. So if you are accelerating up to that jump and using the jump rules from the base edition of the game, you could clear over the river, in which case you just ignore the river. There are cases where you can jump onto the river, in which case you'd have to apply that river rule. Now let's take a look at these hard corners, these 90-degree intersections or turns. Now, if you're playing that you are passing through that corner, there's going to be no difference. Now, if you are making that 90-degree turn, you have to take into consideration this note here that tells you the gear for making that turn. So this would be a 2. And you can also use this shortcut here as well. Another thing that Rallyman Dirt adds is at the very end of the race, each player can more or less bid for the starting turn order, or bid to hopefully change their starting turn order. Because if you remember, at the end of a race, players are going to total up all their times. And at the end of the first race, it is the fastest player that starts first in the second race. And for the third race, it's the fastest time of the first two that starts first in the third race. And normally that would be a good thing. But in Dirt, if you remember, if you are in the lead, you're going to be rolling the orange, more hazardous acceleration dice rather than the white one. So you may not want to start off first. So at the end of the race, all players are going to grab a handful of 5-second penalty dice from the supply. And everyone's going to do a blind bid, reveal at the same time, and they're going to add those penalties to their time. So they are, on purpose, making their time worse. But the idea is make it just worse enough that it kicks them out of starting first in the next rally. And some players may not want to do that, and they don't care if they start first because they just want to have the fastest time. But so you can always blind bid with nothing. But that's another really neat aspect of this game. Rallyman Dirt. So what do I think about the expansion? Well, I will tell you that the expansion doesn't really add a lot in terms of components. You do get 4 more boards for a total of 8 new sides. You do get those rotatable dashboard speedometer things to track the number of dice that you use depending on the terrain type and tire choice. And you do get those 2 orange dice. But that does not matter in this case because the expansion is exceptional. In my opinion, you have to have Rallyman Dirt to fully enjoy what Rallyman has to offer. It's almost like the original version of the game was released partially finished. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that I think the designer had a lot of awesome ideas that maybe just wasn't feasible to fit into the first edition of the game, so he released this expansion, Dirt, which is maybe realizes the full potential of what he wanted to do with this game, and I think it did a great job. I thought the original base edition of the game could end up turning into a little bit dull because there wasn't a whole lot of choice of what you do. You just kind of roll some dice and move, roll some dice and move, maybe do a little bit of drifting here or there. But with the expansion, you add all the dirt tracks, you add those 90-degree right angle turns and intersections, which I think are so much fun. You add in the those speedometer rotating dial things, which make it a lot more easier, and they're just really a neat gimmick that it adds to the game. You know, because you didn't have to have those rotating dials, you could just have more dashboards. But the fact that you have these movable pieces always makes it a lot more fun to play with. And those acceleration dice that are orange, those orange gas dice, wow. It's almost like sometimes you don't want to be in first place because you have a bigger risk of losing control. And that's why you also have that penalty time phase at the end of the race where everyone can secretly take some penalty and reveal simultaneously to hopefully change your order for starting the next race. And again, that could end up hurting you more than it helps you, or vice versa. So I think the Dirt expansion adds a lot to the game, and if you enjoy racing games and you enjoyed Rallyman the base edition, I think you have to order the Dirt expansion. I think you owe it to yourself to really realize the full potential of this game. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you at the next review.